Welcome back to Looking Forward, the podcast where we explore the intersection of technology, leadership, and the future of work. I'm AJ. I'm joined by my co-host, Jen.
Today, we're discussing a topic that's reshaping how businesses operate, agentic AI. You've probably heard about generative AI tools, but agentic AI takes things to the next level by not just creating, but acting on behalf of users. We're thrilled to have two incredible guests today, Doug, who's here to walk us through the strategic implications of agentic AI, and Brian, who will give us a peek under the hood of Sandy, our very own agentic AI solution.
Let's get started. So, agentic AI is the doer. It is able to leverage your systems, other software, APIs, and webhooks to perform actions, tasks, roles, and even more sophisticatedly, jobs. So you go all the way up to a sales development rep, ingest a request for information or an inquiry, take that information, leveraging generative AI and large language models, interpret what's being asked, leveraging a knowledge database, and then respond via an email, text message, or even do an outbound phone call similar to Sandy.
So agentic AI doesn't just provide answers or insights, it takes action. What kinds of problems or inefficiencies in businesses make agentic AI so compelling at the moment?
Well, it's the ability to take somebody who's doing a lot of lower order tasks, a lot of repetitive tasks, and allowing for that to be offloaded and allowing for that person to become an orchestrator of their job and helping them scale, allowing them to work on things that humans really need to be working on, maybe refining how the agent is responding, resolving those edge case scenarios. It's really exciting from that vantage point. I just watched the Microsoft Ignite conference. Astounding work being done within that ecosystem of leveraging agentic solutions. An example they highlighted was a full procurement analyst. It ingests receivables, invoices from their service providers and other organizations they work with. It validates the invoice. It assures there's not a duplicate invoice. If there is a duplicate invoice, it tries to reconcile that. It will tag a human to say, hey, I saw this, the discrepancy. This is the course of action I recommend. How should we proceed? You have the human in the loop situations, and then they have the fully automated solutions, which is it goes and looks at what is the existing contract for that person. Is the invoice correct? Is it not correct? And we'll send emails back to that organization saying, hey, I saw these issues. Just wanted to clarify that. So it's doing some of this back and forth work and really helping organizations scale.
All right, so it's clear that agentic AI is addressing real needs.
Yeah.
But for our listeners who might not be familiar with how it works, can you walk us through at a high level how AI, like agentic AI, operates?
Yeah. So you would give it a prescribed list of actions and a job that it's trying to perform. Those actions or tools or systems that it can call are things that when it detects I'm seeing this challenge on the work that I'm doing, I can leverage that to provide an answer. On the education side, you have a lot of student support challenges. Let's say school just started and they're like, I need to drop my class. What's the process to do that? Formally, somebody sends an email to the registrar. The student might have gone to an FAQ page, hunt down, figure that out. Now with a agentic chat solution, that agentic chat solution is built on the FAQ on how to do that. And depending on the level of integration, it can actually go into the LMS, the learning management system, or the student information system and unenroll that student based on those actions, or tee up to unenroll that student and have a human go in and say, hey, I'll push this through. It's offloading this sort of repetitive low value work to where the registrar has this ability to work on more important things. Those would be two low-hanging fruit opportunities there. So you get 24/7 coverage to supporting a lot of your frontline staff from a student standpoint, school standpoint, and then from a real estate standpoint. You're on vacation. How great would it be is if, I want to see this home now. I might be sitting at the pool, drinking a couple martinis, have a good time. Wouldn't it be great that, hey, that hit my email box. My agent picks that up. It reaches out to my colleague who's doing my coverage and say, hey, John Doe wants to go see this. Can you facilitate this? All that gets handled. And I think that's the magic about what's going on here. People are still allowed to be humans, take PTO, do the things that they need to, and still provide high quality service.
Better, like everyone and be a VIP.
Exactly. Brian Chesky, when they founded Airbnb, really focused, what is the 5-star experience like? Where agentic AI is going to be and where it's at in some situations, narrow cases right now, is that it's the knowledge expert that is as good as your top 5-10% of folks. It's on 24/7. It's super consistent. It's traceable. You can see how it was communicating. You can see why I got to it. You can understand the thinking that was done. So it's really magical.
Nice. Do you have any examples of applications of agentic AI where we can pinpoint the value and show us where the money is?
Yeah. So, the ability to pre-qualify someone. So you have some sort of criteria of filtering down to that ideal customer profile. And for you to get there, you have to collect information. An agentic AI can go through that. It can do it in natural language. The prospect could provide all that information in a single message, and it's able to detect that, capture that, and like, fantastic. That person might have an additional question that's out of scope of a chatbot. A traditional chatbot doesn't have a knowledge base to reference. That agentic AI has the power of your data. So if it's on your website and it's addressable, or it's within a database and structured data set, it'll go in and query that and provide, oh, you're looking for this type of home. Here's the price points. Oh, you're looking for this number of beds, number of baths. How about these homes? Here's an e-brochure about that location, and facilitate a much more organic and fluid human-like experience. The younger generations, especially in the education space, they're very much more pro to go to a website and find the information themselves, Google the information, find it themselves, opposed to picking up a phone call and having a personal interaction. What I've seen as well on the education side, some of the highest performing students are fearful of reaching out to their teachers and professors when they need additional assistance, because they know that person's a human. They know that person's at home. It's late at night. They might be taking care of their kids, and they just don't feel like it's appropriate for them to send an email or a message saying, hey, I'm struggling with this. Can you help me with that? Now, having a agentic AI tutor with inside of your course that's built on the corpus of all the knowledge your education organization provides, you're able to do a lot of really neat things that you can really personalize that and have that education. All the things that happen in our world can be explained much better by having the power of large language models underneath it, and the context and information they have to personalize and meet those people where they're at.
Okay, so now let's flip the script a little bit, because we know that it's not all smooth sailing.
If you're coaching people, all they communicate, humans, how they're communicating with other humans. It's one thing when a human's giving you that feedback. You have respect.
Mm-hmm.
It's an agent. It's a bot. And they wouldn't tell a manager, hey, you're wrong. So there's a psychological block. As that comes into effect, the agent itself has to be thinking the next step of, this person might have reluctance to accept this feedback. And if they have reluctance, what can I say as an agent to facilitate it? You could have somebody that's been in a sales role for 10 years. They know this is the way that works because it worked 10 years ago. It worked last year. It worked this year. Helping them work through those biases of maybe try it a little bit different and see what happens. The magic that starts happening is they do it a little bit different. And all of a sudden, maybe the conversion rates get a little bit better, and helping the whole organization, the whole team work in unison. The beauty of that too is that you're able to train around like what should be said, the appropriate words, the verbiage, the tone. We do the things that we do.
I have a follow-up question for Mr. Smith. We're talking about agentic AI as a coach to the team. I think it would be good for everyone listening to level set. Like, where are we right now? Are we replacing individual contributors on organizations with an agentic AI?
Some of the nuance with all of this, and I think this is what a lot of folks are seeing in the production environments, is all the unknowns of the scenarios, all this sort of edge case type stuff that goes on. The first 90 to 95%, relatively easy to capture. That extra 5% to 10% to get to exactly what this role is supposed to do takes time and can be exponentially more challenging because the edge cases only appear so often. You have Microsoft with the Copilot Studio and their Power Platform agents. You have Bedrock with the Bedrock agents and an amalgamation of other startups, the Artisans of the world, the 11x, focusing more on the business development side of things. So they're there for sure. And finding that balance between what is human work and what do I have that I can offload to agents and what's appropriate. Now, what comes with that, this is an important thing, is understanding that if you're using an LLM, you're now dependent on that thinking brain to do the work for you. If that LLM for some reason goes offline, what happens? So thinking about the technology systems that go into this of, oh God, OpenAI goes down. My entire sales division just stopped. And there's no emails going out. The RFIs or requests for information are backing up. There's inbound messages and no one's responding. That makes you think of, I have to have redundancy. So a lot of what has happened historically is the development of redundant systems. So maybe you're leveraging another LLM solution that is a paired clone to do and perform like actions. That's a lot of complexity. But what comes with that is greater uptime.
This brings me to a very important point, which is the costs. There's a cost in here. And what is the cost to run that action through agentic AI with all the redundancy and stuff that you need to do to make sure that it's safe, secure, and compliant? And then what is the value of that task? I fear that we may go overboard. But looking forward, where do you see agentic AI in the next 3 to 5 years from a state-of-the-art standpoint?
Well, a couple great things that are happening is that the cost of running the LLMs themselves, like the inference cost of trained models, is coming down dramatically from 3.0 to now, almost 100x decline. The performance of the models has improved. There's open source models that you could leverage potentially and self-host and really reduce the cost of what has been going into it. There's still the associated cost of having people orchestrate, build the things and do the things. And I'll say, my humble opinion, what you'll probably end up having is a time frame within the next 2 to 3 years, if not sooner than that, that a AI agentic solution will go in and identify the business process and task and build the application, the agent for itself to do that thing. And it starts doing the work for you to a great extent. There's going to be massive disruption to a lot of the traditional companies. The core challenge today with LLMs is the specificity of what they're able to do. And that is something that's being through. So eventually you're going to have an LLM that is going to be better than 90% of almost everybody in any particular field at any point in time. I think we'll all likely have a robust AI agent that supports us like a concierge to navigate us through life. It's going to be a beautiful world from what I've seen from Novartis and Sanofi of how they have their research scientists orchestrating agents to help scale to do much more work faster, like cutting the time to do research by 70 to 80%. We will live in a much better world than we see today in terms of the fluidity and the products and the services that we do. Everyone can look forward to that in terms of happiness.
What advice would you give to those who are just starting to explore agentic AI?
Just try. The speed by which you can test and try things, you take Replit.ai of, I want to build a website that does this specific thing that I would only care about. I want to build this thing, build it for me. And now you can see it. And now you're curious, well, I really wanted to do X, Y, Z. And then you can go to ChatGPT or Claude and go into the code and make the modifications yourself. And all of a sudden you start learning how these systems work, how that can be applied to the rest of your life. I think is only beneficial in terms of how you're a digital native, so to speak. I'm just really excited for the upcoming future. I think our governments, I think a lot of business models will all change in a positive way that benefits our society overall.
Thank you so much, Doug.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Doug.
All right, bye all. Bye.
That was great.
All right, Brian, welcome to the show. Let's start with you introducing yourself. Can you tell us a little bit about your role and about Sandy?
Thanks for having me on. Brian Drews. I'm a data analytics consultant at ampersand. For Sandy, Agentic AI for our consulting firm, I served as technical lead for the product.
What makes Sandy unique as an agentic AI solution? How does its architecture enable it to balance autonomy, control, and trust?
Yeah. What makes Sandy unique is that she was specifically tailored for ampersand's needs. We wanted a way to autonomously filter potential partners or people looking for information on our website and trial a potential use case in lead qualification. Trust is built with users by making it clear that she understands what's being mentioned in the conversation and never directly accessing like any like personal or confidential information. And that way you limit any kind of privacy concerns.
What has been the biggest technical hurdle you faced while building Sandy, and how did you solve it?
Obviously, this is all new technology, so figuring out the bells and whistles on the way there is part of the journey. Probably the biggest challenge was actually developing that prompt engineering script to have her go through certain conversations, because a lot of it's power with generative AI. And just like going on ChatGPT, if you provide a good prompt, you get a good answer. If you provide a very open prompt, you get a very open answer. Being able to get down to the nitty gritty and even putting hashtags and formatting in a way that she can understand steps in a sequence and steps in a conversation.
Can you tell us a little bit about the hashtag? You're using hashtags in the prompts.
So generative AI has a good understanding like markdown format, which, you know, a certain amount of hashtags, it relates to the certain importance of a title or a message. Being able to like maybe, you know, this is your sequence steps at the highest level of importance. If it follows within certain hashtags, you go down step 1, step 2, step 3. Using markdown format to guide the conversation helps. But I also can put that in global rules for the agent as well. So trial and error, maybe it's not the best way. And that's just the iterations, keep working on it to make it better.
How are you able to figure this out so quickly and as you go? Like, are you a part of different chat groups or support groups that help you work through these things?
A lot of Reddits, videos on YouTube of trying one script, giving her a call, having her respond a certain way, and having her go down the talk track to get to that one situation, seeing how that changed it. So in a way, it's like Alejandro loves the A/B testing. It's like a little bit like of a testing, and also being able to understand that, you know, it's not deterministic where every situation is going to be the same if you're the same exact script.
Yeah.
So looking ahead, what's next for Sandy? What kind of new features or improvements do you think are coming down the pipe?
Yeah, I mean, specifically handling text and PDF documents with back and forth with clients or NDAs, being able to work those out without having to do the manual back and forth.
All right, let's zoom out a bit. Where do you see agentic AI as a field heading in the next few years? And how are you prepping Sandy to stay ahead of that curve?
So just agentic AI was looking to automate processes that might already be done using AI, but has a human behind, and being able to give them these agentic AI actions to execute processes is going to be big. Everything within, you know, like call centers, kind of like mundane process, maybe like information center, maybe educational, like admissions, being able to answer those questions and maybe submit an application on someone's behalf, or even the claim center for retail or something of that sort. If they want a refund and, you know, it checkboxes all the things that, you know, is required for a refund. It's blending agentic AI to autonomously do very mundane actions, but also keep humans in the loop for the big actions.
A follow-up question. So when you were building Sandy, right, what were 2 things that surprised you? One surprised you in terms of how easy it was to do, that you thought, oh, I thought that was going to be a lot harder. And what was something that surprised you that you thought it was going to be a lot easier and it ended up being a lot harder?
Yes, it's a great question. Something that was a lot easier, I was using Zapier for a lot of the coordination and extracting the information and sending the emails and the calendar invites. I thought was going to be very difficult, but you can find tools that might make your whole process a little more expensive, but make things very easy. The part that was more difficult for me was figuring out how to improve a conversation to make it more human-like. How do you reach that middle ground where it's okay to talk to the AI and understand it,
Cool. Final thoughts you'd like to share with our audience?
Yeah. Just like some key takeaways for people who are looking to implement agentic AI or even consider it for their business is have a specific goal in mind.
Well, that's all the time we have for today, Brian.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks for having me on. I'm happy to join again sometime soon.
Listeners, if you're as excited about agentic AI as we are, stay tuned for more updates on Sandy and how it's transforming the way we work. Be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and keep the conversation going. Doug, Brian, thank you again for joining us. And to everyone tuning in,
Keep looking forward.